morning. It is raining here in Oklahoma. We'll do a weather report. We'll do a weather report. Oh, there I am. There I am. Turn down the echo. Eddie, what's up, man? You been up all night? We're still brewing our coffee. We're being premature. Now check this out. This is gonna piss me off. Okay, so if this guy stays parked there when I need to leave, which I doubt he will, it's going to be a little bit of a hassle to get around this guy who's parked nose in. I don't understand parking nose in when you have all that room to just kind of swing around and then come back. That's it. It's more dangerous to park like that, because what if you have to get out of a situation pretty quickly? Let's say someone comes in here and wants to play, Cowboys and Indians, and you have to bail. Now you got to back up, right? Someone can easily block you in. Well, I guess you can just push them out of the way, but still, your truck could be broken into, your truck could be on fire, no one would be none the wiser, because your cab's back there. I don't understand that. I get it, but if you have trouble backing into a spot, well, now you got to back out, and you can't see what's around you. You can't see someone. See, if you come across this way, and I'm driving along all happy because I'm doing my thing, and then I come back here and you're backing. You can't see around this corner. You can't see around this. So it's kind of stupid. This around here. So, anyways, good morning. Sorry to start off on a little bit of a negative tangent, but maybe that needs to be a topic of discussion one night on Pale Rider's feed, about these guys that nose in these places. That's what I always heard about idle air. You guys been out here a minute, you know about idle air. And idle air, you had to nose in, which I didn't like that. And luckily, most of the idle air places, which I never used idle air, but any port in a storm, if I got to park, I got to park. And I would try to back in. Of course, they got angry about that, but if I did have to nose in, it was very rare. You just put the four ways on and hope for the best. I forgot to mute the phone. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see if we can change that. So, good morning. Our coffee is still brewing. I think my coffee pot needs to be clean. It's brewing a little bit slower. We'll talk about the subject at hand this morning. There's a well, let's do some shout outs first, and then we'll get into this here. Let's see, Eddie, what's up? Thomas Wilson, good morning. Getting kids ready for school. You're killing it on that short local stuff, aren't you? Robert Daniel. Yeah, it's a free truck and trailer wash. Yeah, it's Thomas Wilson. You ought to see the car hauler just pulled up here. I can't show it now because it's not. I got a truck in my way, but a car hauler full of Corvettes just pulled up. Oh, there it is. Here we go. Here you go, Thomas. Thomas Wilson, that shot is just for you. Look at that. Look at all them Corvettes all wrapped in their pretty blankets. Look at that. So. Anyways, we're doing shout-outs. Big Houston, Bill Ryder TV, Greg Zimmer, good morning. TJ Jones, Overtap, Minnesota. The other trucker, James Best, word up. So, oh, Red Chicken says hi there, Mr. Best. So, Scott, SRO Logistics, good morning. So let's talk about losing your roots. So, this is not a music-related subject. It kind of is. Don't let my introduction with music detract from this. This is kind of related in business and in trucking, okay? And in life in general. I mean, which is what I try to do. I'm not all about trucking all the time. You guys know that. If you guys have been watching my channel, you know that. You know, and I think it's in the world that we live in, it's easy to get lost. It's easy to get lost in yourself or in your mission. And I've always said that consistency is key in everything. You know, if you do the same thing every single day, you're going to start winning at that. So, anyways, so I remember years ago I was outside of a venue that we were playing at, and there was a fellow metalhead / musician, and his ego had gotten really big. And what had happened was he was into a lot of the early death metal bands, you know, like Obituary, Deicide, you know, Cannibal Corpse, stuff like that. And as you know, as a musician, we've all, in our little circle, we've all grown to acquire more intricate tastes, you know, and to the point that a lot of these metal musicians that you know, we all kind of started with listening to the same thing, you know, started losing our roots. In other words, you know, and a perfect example is this guy who's used to be the biggest Deicide fan. You know, he'd walk around with one of their shirts, you know, and Deicide is a word that means to kill all that is holy. You know, it's like Deicide's a very angry satanic metal band, right? And so, and he would walk around, you know, like, I'm shock value guy, you know. And as time progressed, he became a better musician. You know, one day I was outside, I was like, hey man, have you heard the new Deicide? And he's like, Deicide is total crap. And I'm like, what? And what had happened was his level of musicianship got so big in his head that he forgot the roots of where he began. You know, like, hey, you know, just 3 years ago, you were this young punk listening to, you know, Deicide with the rest of us. And you know, and when you listen to humble musicians, you know, like even rock stars, you know, they never forget their roots. You know, and when you look at like Metallica, there's a lot of pictures. There's a book called Murder in the Front Row that shows a lot of pictures of when Metallica loading their own gear, putting out their own flyers for their shows. You know, when you get to the status that they are, you know, it's easy to forget your roots. And I think that goes in what happens when you lose your roots. you wither away and die. And a perfect example of that, my wife told me about this video she watched, an article she read, I can't remember, where she was talking about there was these trees that were growing in this like big dome, and they found that these trees would blow over easily once they got to a certain age because their roots were weak, because they didn't have all that wind resistance. You know, wind, as much as I hate wind, it toughens up the trees. Sometimes it takes them out, but and that's kind of another lesson for another day. But roots are important. And how many people have lost their roots of why they started playing music? How many people have lost their roots of why they started a business? That's the one that I think about a lot. You know, it goes to, why did you start your business? If you're a business owner, I don't care if it's trucking or, throwing things at people. What was the root? You know, you hear about a lot of professional sports athletes that don't enjoy the game of football, or they don't enjoy the game of baseball anymore because they've forgotten their roots. They've forgotten of why they started playing the game. You know, and I think that in the trucking world, and how this how it pertains to our world, is that sometimes we lose sight of why we began trucking. You know, what was the original intention of when you started trucking? What was the original intention of you buying your first truck, or you leasing your first truck? And with the political climate and the government stuff and the ELD mandates and the lack of courtesy that seems to, courtesy has gone by the wayside, common sense has gone by the wayside. You people that have been around since the old days, like RD and Pale Rider and myself, and I'm not even that much of a veteran. I just remember the days of when my dad drove. The old spirit of trucking is kind of not gone away. It's still there in pockets, but it's harder and harder to find that spirit, and so like truck stops, for example. Truck stops are nothing like they were when I was a kid. I remember early in my career, I took a trip out to it was Abilene, Texas, and there was a mom and pop truck stop. I can't remember what it was called. And I remember walking in that thing and just feeling this blast from the past, this old school like feelings that I haven't had since the days of being with my dad. And it made me realize just how much the pilots and the Loves and the newer Petros have kind of lost their early days. My wife has this record album that's like a bunch of old trucking songs, and it has this old truck stop on the cover, and it just brought back a lot of memories. And then it also made me think of what life must have been like trucking in the 70s and the early 80s, and dealing with some of the 80s stuff, running with my dad, and I just know the spirit has changed, so it's easy to lose the roots, and I hear a lot of these old guys say that it's not fun anymore. There's too many changes. Now, I'm not saying that losing your roots, like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't evolve, right? I am happily, Nevada Trucking and Trails did a really good video. I watched it about using the GPS, and he mentioned that he didn't even use an atlas or own an atlas. I still have my atlas. It's like 5 years old at this point. It sits on the bottom. Every now and then I've had to bust it out, but but I embrace technology in many ways. It's made, if you have your own authority, you're enjoying the advantages of technology. If you're having the track IFTA, you're enjoying the advantages of technology. There's a middle ground. Embrace technology, but don't lose touch of don't lose that skill of doing trip planning with the Atlas. And it seems like life has kind of done that to a lot of us. We've lost our roots of why we started our original intentions. And I get it. We grow, we evolve. Companies have to make adjustments. But if you lose the true roots of what you originally set out to do, then you start losing touch of and that's where passion kind of gets killed, and that's where strength kind of falters a little bit, and the next thing you know, your company's failing and you don't know why. Perfect example is a restaurant that I worked at. The guy completely became more money driven than just the passion of owning the bar. Is a bar and grill. And so, he thought, well, I need to compete with the Applebee's. I need to compete with, those kind of places, the chain places. And I'll get to the comments here. I'm not completely ignoring you guys. And so he made all these adjustments to the menu, and then he started treating his employees like crap. And so next thing you know, you have new employees learning 10 more things that were added to the original menu. And so service went down, quality went down, continuity went down. If you went in the first shift, you got one set of meal. If you went into during second shift, that cook gave you the same menu item but completely different. And eventually it bankrupted this guy, and he eventually killed himself because he couldn't take that kind of pressure anymore. And he lost his roots. He lost of why he started that restaurant. He lost his original passion of what he set out to do. And what had happened was people stopped going there because of the service issues, because of the quality issues, but also because they don't want the Applebee's. They were at his restaurant because they didn't want the Applebee's. They didn't want the Cheddars. They didn't want the Chili's or the TGIFs. And he was trying to be one of those. And as a single restaurant owner, you got to have a different allure. A lot of these chain restaurants have themes, like these steak places, like Roadhouse, and a lot of these Tex-Mex places. They're a chain, and yeah, they're a higher quality chain to a certain degree, but it's kind of like you buy the whole package. Whereas having your own restaurant, you have to kind of create your own thing. And if you lose touch of what your customers want, that's a part of losing your roots. And so when it comes to trucking, it's kind of the same thing. It's the same thing with any business. I've seen plenty of businesses in Springfield go under because they lost roots of what their customers wanted. And it was either for the almighty dollar, or they just stopped. Like there's a store in Springfield that's called Sound Smart. It used to sell records and CDs and all that kind of thing, music stuff. You go in there now, it's a head shop. It's like, well, so let me get this straight. You're called Sound Smart, but you don't sell what you originally set out to do. And that company's struggling right now. Or maybe not, because, medical marijuana is legal in Missouri now, but just there's, and I see it over and over again. You see it with these trucking companies. Look at Schneider, trying to do away with the legacy board, the choice, something that worked for them for 10 years. A formula that worked for them for 10 years is now faltering, is now changing. And eventually they're going to isolate the drivers that have been there a long time, which is how you get consistency. You know, if you know, turnover and driver retention is you know, the first big challenge is getting drivers in the door, and the second big challenge is keeping them. And if you keep a turnover revolving door going, you lose consistency. You lose consistency with the brokers. You lose consistency with your customers if you have dedicated customers. You know, and there's a new driver every single time that they show up, pick up or deliver your load. It doesn't look good on the company, but also, you know how these shippers and receivers are. They have little quirks, you know, like, you know, don't go that way, that direction in the parking lot, or you know that you're going to have a tough back end, or you know that you go to this window for this and you go to that window for that, and then, you know, here's the phone number to check in, you know, that kind of thing. And when you go in and you're able to know that already, it makes you look more professional. It makes you look more like you kind of got your act together. And so consistency is extremely important. And when you lose your roots of why you begin something or why you do something, then you kind of lose that a little bit. So that's just my thoughts. All right. We are way behind on comments. Let's see. Nothing Witty is in the house. Good morning. Scott Provost. Thor and Thunder. Let's see. You guys are calling each other's names. Top Dog Logistics. What's up? That's why you're awesome, Pale Rider. You are an old spirit. What I miss is the old school greasy spoons. Robert, we'll get into that for a second. Sheffield's got bulldozed on exit 460 and 75 in Florida is now a pilot. Those who remember know. Yeah, I mean, there's a place up there in northern Missouri that also is getting ready to get bulldozed or turned into a pilot. Atlas, GPS, Google Satellite, Street View, telephone, all tools to use accordingly. And the CB radio white line. You have pre-trip inspections for sale? Let's see. Big Rig CEO, good morning. Give me a mom and pop's local sit-down restaurant with home-cooked meals over any commercial chain. John Armstrong, what's up? Anthony Bressler, Bob G, Southern Ryer. Cochran's is still surviving in Ringgold. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been there. Is that the one with the truck stop the truck wash? It's very annoyingly loud on the CB radio. Everybody's more focused on profit instead of employees always lose on quality. I watched it happen at Frito-Lay, and it looks like it's happening at Schneider since stock went public. I agree with you, Thor. When profit look, profit's important. Okay, without profit, you wouldn't be doing whatever you're doing. Trust me on that. But business without morality. You know, when you know, sometimes the company's got to take a hit to keep a good employee. And I've seen that evidence of that over and over and over. You know, and you have to think, you know, if you're a restaurant owner, trucking company owner, business owner, and you have employees and you can't keep them, it's one of two things, or both. It's money and how they're treated. And if they're only there for money, but you treat them poorly, but you pay them so well, that creates resentment. And so you lose out on quality of work. If you treat an employee very, very well and they love it, but then you're not paying them, then they can't survive. So the combination is to pay an employee well and, you know, pay them what they're worth is essentially, you know, this restaurant owner, he, you know, my sister was a manager at this place, and he burned her and 3 other managers that literally ran that place for him with dedication and love, and completely abandoned them to get somebody in cheaper. You know, instead of hiring 2 good cooks for, you know, a good amount of money, he was willing to spend more money, ironically, for 3 cheaper per hour cooks, and cutting their hours when he deemed it necessary. They had cooks at that restaurant dealing meth off the food line through the waitresses. That's how bad this place got. And he had no idea. He had absolutely no idea. And it's crazy to see a good company. It's sad to see a good company just completely go to crap. You know, the Flying J in Springfield, when it first opened, I went in there and everybody was all friendly and nice and it was clean. Now it's just another crap hole, just like all the others. You know, and it's amazing to me that if I was an owner or part owner of a major truck stop chain and I pulled up and seen the condition that some of these places are at, I would be absolutely appalled. I would be absolutely just, what's going on here? So, you know, and that's the problem today is no one takes pride in their work. And so it can be kind of daunting as a company owner. You know, there's a lot of places right now that are hiring, you know, in the brick and mortar business that are literally, you know, I saw an ad for a restaurant. They're giving $1,000 sign on just to be a waiter or a waitress, you know, be a part of the wait staff there at this restaurant because they can't get people in. So I think that if you treat people right and pay them well, you know, it won't eliminate turnover, but it will definitely reduce it, you know. We were talking about sticking to your roots. It seems everyone points out to why Blockbuster and Polaroid failed. They didn't adapt to technology and keep up with their competitors. That's true. I mean, it's important to evolve, Eddie. But you know, I'm trying to think of the company that comes to mind. You know, there's a way to evolve, but there's also a way to keep your roots. And you know, and so in the case of Blockbuster, they didn't adapt. You know, and they suffered for it. But, you know, I mean, you have some rare cases like that. You know, Polaroid, guess what? If you go to Walmart in the camera section, there are Polaroid style cameras that are there. You know, so it's not like people hated the idea. You know, it's just a matter of evolving and adjusting. You know, look at records. Records have made a comeback. Why is that? Because they start giving you a higher quality product that you can't capture with an MP3 or even a CD for that matter. I'm picking up a Snorelord right now that was supposed to be picked up yesterday. Shipper isn't happy. Yeah, Scott, that happens. I dealt with that today, or yesterday, I mean. Company got started by building its roots, and then greed takes over and the roots collapse and rot. Thor, it's exactly what happens. White line, it has become a resume bullet if you can actually pass a drug test. Paul Wibbles, how's it going? Most people have grown accustomed to being given everything. This lets laziness and complacency win. The money wasted on training is ridiculous. It could be better spent on retaining good employees. Maybe that's why training is becoming less and less of a requirement. I think most industries you can evolve with the new technology, but still stay true to the values of your company and the basic goal of why you started. There you go. Nothing Woody just said it all. Video over with. No, don't leave. No, nothing Woody literally just said it all right there. That's kind of what I was trying to talk about with the Blockbuster thing. And there's still a Blockbuster somewhere, I think, and so like there's a place called Family Video. They just went out too. COVID took them out though. Because you got to realize that not everybody has streaming services. Not everybody has, unlimited internet. Not everybody can just, watch, the entire series of Sons of Anarchy on Netflix. They want the experience. A lot of people spend a lot of money on, big home theater systems and big, 75-inch TVs, and they want the theater experience. And so, but maybe they don't want to pay $100 for, satellite, a month. So they'd rather just go and buy or rent a $3 a night DVD. And, of course, when COVID came along, people had to rely on the streaming services, Yeah, Blockbuster didn't go digital. They could have rivaled Netflix. Yeah, they tried the mail, mail your DVD thing. They tried that element, but it just, they failed on that. Man, I don't even have internet. On the other hand, maybe there's a lesson there in recognizing when the world has moved on and when it's time to just close the doors and end it gracefully. Look, we can nitpick and point out all these little companies that didn't evolve and fail. I'm not saying it's not good to evolve. I'm not saying that at all. Like I just said, I embrace technology when it comes, is it the old trucker spirit to use a GPS and Google Maps and know exactly when you're going to be somewhere? Not really, but it sure does make the job a lot easier, which makes it more enjoyable, which is very good for the spirit of trucking. Because the more people that actually enjoy this job out here, the better it would be. And the problem with a lot of drivers that are miserable out here, they make it miserable for everybody else. They have no courtesy, they've got no professionalism, and because they're miserable, they're jaded. They job hop all the time. Because they're never happy. It's not fun out here anymore. I'm going to try this company because their grass is greener. Wow, that company is a bunch of crap too. Well, that company is a bunch of crap too. Well, I hate that truck stop. I hate that road. I hate this. I hate that. And when you focus on that, that's where, again, that's where you lose that original, why did you come out here? So, but it's a sad story, and so you have to look at yourself. Have you lost your roots? I still listen to the original bands that I started off at. I evolved as a musician, but I didn't forget where my musicianship inspiration came from. I've evolved in trucking. I'm now an owner operator. But I haven't lost sight of why I like driving a truck. And And I'm especially reminded when I hear about other people's jobs, in their office or in their factory, and how they just hate it. I was sitting at a receiver and watching people clock in. I'm like, oh man, it just sent chills down my spine. I don't think I could ever go back to, doing that, which is, could be a problem in retirement years, but I like being out in the open. I like being outside. I like being exposed to the elements, like, rain and sun, and even though it's gotten more dangerous out here, and even though the world's kind of lost its collective mind, there's still elements. There's still the sunrises. There's still the sunsets. There's still that day that, like yesterday, was a good day. It was perfect weather. Well, it was a little windy, and I had 10,000 in the box. I think it's closer to 20, but whatever. But you have to make the best of each situation. So, gratitude. That's where gratitude kind of comes in. Chucky's in the house. I love trucking. I love the challenge and the freedom. I would never go back to the office. Great sage logic. Good morning. I'm out here because I hate sitting in front of a computer and taking on a phone all day. My office view changes daily. I go out when I want to go out and stay home when I want to stay home. And that's kind of my thing. I think I enjoy trucking more because I don't have the same pressures that a lot of other people do. Like, I can't imagine, like, being under a company dispatch and like, okay, you need to do 600 miles, and that forces you to try to find parking in downtown Dallas at 6 a.m. because or at 10 p.m. at night when you have a 6 a.m. delivery. I don't ever put myself in those situations. And so if you're always thrown in that situations, I could see where you would like start hating trucking. That's not really trucking. That's the problems that man has brought to trucking. If that makes any sense. That probably doesn't make sense, but I guess what I'm trying to say is the more control you have, the more enjoyable trucking is. And that's why it's important as a business owner, if you're an owner-operator or a lease operator, to have your costs managed, your debt managed, your have a second income. If it wasn't for my wife, I don't think I could do what I do. And so she deserves so much better, than what I give her. And but we make it work. It's a partnership. And and the return is I can come home when I want. And the kids, they're teenagers now, and I think they're sick of me when I'm home too much. But the more success we are at trucking, the more control you have, the more enjoyable it is, as long as you don't lose your roots. I know so many owner operators out here that are just jaded old hands that just hate. They hate you. They hate your truck. They hate the truck stops. They hate everything. And there's still some good gems. There's still some good places. Like, I enjoy the Sapp Brothers in Harrisonville. Their fuel, not so much, but that's a different story for a different day. But I enjoy certain chain restaurants like the Petro in Joplin or the Petro in Walcott, Iowa. It seems to be a lost art in business to keep in touch of why you started. That's all I gotta say. RD, what's up? I agree, your wife deserves so much better. Big ring. Freedom, I've been home since Friday afternoon, but I had stuff to do. Can't do that working for someone else. Yeah, I mean, look, the first time I really experienced that freedom was I was sitting empty. I was at Landstar. I was sitting empty at the Ameristar Casino because I couldn't find the load. I just delivered. I couldn't find anything. And my wife calls me and says, you know, hey, I think our dog's about to die. I'm worried about him. I don't know what to do. And so I said, I'll come home. So you know, I looked at my clock, had enough time, pushed the brake in and went home. That was, and there's been a few times where that's happened. You know, I could have an emergency now. I could deliver my load this morning, cancel the next load and go home. You know, and if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you can't even afford fuel without the carrier's help, that's not freedom. If you have a $5,000 a month truck note, that's not freedom. If your costs are too high, that's not freedom. You're a slave to the system. That's why it's important to leave meat on the bone. If you have to run at $2 a mile to just break even, you're going to struggle. That's not freedom. I don't care if you're self-dispatch or not. You push your brake in the stop. That's because you're silly, all right? So, anyways, just my morning coffee thoughts. I wasn't gonna make coffee this morning, but I didn't want to get out in the rain because I'm too precious to get wet. So pre-trip is going to be fun. I have an open delivery, but I need to wait a little bit to start my clock because I got a second pickup at 5 o'clock. That's the challenges of short haul, and what I do is there's a lot of sitting, but you know, when I can make $900 to $1,000 a day doing a lot of sitting, I'm okay with that. Less wear and tear on the truck, and more time to give you too many live feeds. I've been live too many times. I went live last night and actually had a crowd in there, which is kind of surprising. And I talk too much. I mean, sometimes I say things that I probably shouldn't say, or wouldn't say, or don't say, or do say. I don't know. I talk too much. So, any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and give me a thumbs up, and we'll see what other conversations we can spark up. You got a French press? You won't melt, you'll float. Look, I'm gonna tell you right now. If you are driving between St. Louis and Oklahoma City down 44, you are going to be in the rain all day. Not just like for a couple hours. It's not like Florida where you go through a rainstorm, then you have sunshine, then you go through a rainstorm, then sunshine. It's not going to be like that. They're calling for 3 to 5 inches in the Ozarks region down 44. So it started raining last night, and I woke up this morning, the truck was shaking, and you know, it was like I was having a weird dream about being rocked, and sure enough, I wake up and the truck's shaking. You know, I'm looking at the reflection off the rain off these trucks, and it's just like straight line winds and stuff like that. That's how I woke up, but it made for good sleeping weather, you know. You are reclusive, Orion. That weather is moving into Ohio. You'll be raining. It will be raining by 11 a.m., dude. We love your live feeds. It's like having a phone call with you. Be safe. Yeah, Orion, I'm in Tulsa. I don't know if you guys have figured that out. I'm in Tulsa. I'm at the Quick Trip, and I literally got the last spot in here. This used to be a paid spot, but I guess they did away with that. I always check in here before I go to a hiding place that I have here in Tulsa, but yeah, so we're going to be in the rain all day. Thomas Wilson, you're back. You just you missed it all. Well, there's two. Well, of course you know where I'm at. Well, I don't know if I have my Life 360 turned on in Big Houston, but there's two quick trips. Am I at the one on the east side of Tulsa, or am I at the one on the west side of Tulsa, next to good old Peterbilt? What if I can go across the street and look at Peterbilt's in the rain? I could do that, possibly, right? You're in your garage drinking coffee and smoking. No signal here in Michigan. Well, yeah, Michigan. People ask me, where's your carrier from? Michigan. Yeah, Peterbilt's. Yeah, Peterbilt's almost bankrupted me. Me and Peterbilt don't get along. Although I do like them 579 Ultra Lofts. Those are, but 680s are better. Big Rig CEO. When are you going to get back to work? Big Rig CEO likes to send me screenshots of the DAP board before the brokers are even open. It's funny. But he's got a good eye for the stuff that I do. I end up doing one of those loads that you sent me there, James, by the way. Trying to book a back haul for next Wednesday out of Pennsylvania. Once you get east of Ohio, you can make really good money, but coming out can be a challenge. Just ask Provost, who lived in New Jersey for so many years. You always take a hit coming out. Whether you're at Schneider, whether you're in the spot market, whether you're at Landstar, you're always going to take a hit coming out. Unless you pick something going to the Carolinas or Florida. That, you know, either way, you're not going to come out with it without a hit. So, Orion, you should share. I bet you're over by Paul Transportation guessing. I don't know. I don't know. That's a mystery, Mr. Houston. It's a mystery. Great. When can I expect my viruses? Wait. Well, let me think. There. You sent me Springfield, Oklahoma City. I took a no. That was Branson, Oklahoma City. I took a Springfield to Tulsa. That's what I took. And one of the loads that you gave me a screenshot, I called, and the reason why the rate was so good is because it was a 72-hour drop. So it was like, yeah, no bueno. So yeah, no 5% fee for you, sir. Look, I don't even look at a low board until after 8. And especially on a Monday morning, you might as well just wait till 9, because everybody's scrambling, you know, and freaking out. You know, dispatchers are like, okay, where are my trucks? What's going on? Who's empty? Who's getting layover? Who's pissed off at me? You know, that kind of thing. Everybody better hang on. Double the gains tax and no more millionaires investing means recession. Mark my word. Thomas giving us some sound advice there. Anyways, you're looking a week out. Well, that's part of the problem. Look, I booked my load. I'm starting to book ahead a little bit more like I used to, because it's been a little bit harder with the last minute stuff. You know, brokers are readjusting and they're trying to shoot you under the 30 and 15 day average. As I mentioned in my live feed last night, Eric and I had a pretty good conversation yesterday about what was going on, because he's seeing the same things with the drivers that he's talking to, and then I'm seeing the same things with drivers that I'm talking to. So rates are starting to normalize a little bit. Now, how long it'll last, I don't know, because there's going to be a bump in demand here in a little bit. You know, and so a lot of times brokers will kind of try to bring rates down, knowing that they're going to have to give it up a little bit later. It's you know, they understand the process of supply and demand, and they're usually kind of more coordinated than truckers can. You know, there's an age-old debate that drivers, you know, is it drivers that set the rates or is that brokers that set the rates? And he who controls the money is who sets the rates, just like in the stock market. If you have, you know, people like, well, if drivers stopped, and this is going to annoy some people, but bear with me on this. If everybody just stopped and refused to move for anything less than $2 a mile, people would start to go out of business, because you can't, no money coming in, I don't care how low your expenses are, is not good for a business. Simple law. And it's not like one day everybody woke up and started running for $1.20 a mile. It's supply and demand. That's why you can get $4 going into Florida, and why you only get, you know, $1.60 coming out. Shippers and brokers set the rates. And even if, and trust me, I know this. You know how I know this? Because I've been that guy that sat at a truck stop for 2 days because I didn't want to move for less than X amount of mile. And the market was not in my favor. So the market dictates the rates. The market demand dictates the rates. If you have 10 trucks for one load, you have no negotiating leverage whatsoever. You have, if you want to keep moving, you have to take it, or you just need to leave, which either way you're losing. Okay? If there's 10 loads per truck, then you become a hot commodity, and then you have negotiating power. That's it. That's what sets rates. And I don't understand why people don't understand that. I know that was kind of a redundant statement, because in the instance where the shipper can't move something because they're not willing to pay, right? Then their stuff doesn't get moved. Then they know they have to bring the money up. And so in that sense, we do have a little bit of control. But if there's 100 trucks all fighting for one load, guess what? If that shipper knows that, guess what? You know, you'll find somebody to move it because they're desperate. Just like you can charge $4 to come out of California to go all the way to the East Coast, $4 a mile. Why? Because they're desperate. Stuff needs to move. He who is desperate, that's what sets the rates. There you go. Put that on a shirt. Call it a wrap. He who is desperate set the rates. Sometimes that's the broker. Sometimes that's the driver. Sometimes that's the shipper. That's a good idea, Ryan. Good morning from Wisconsin there, dispatcher. Turn my Oasis Island into a casino mall and just ferry people back and forth. There you go. Guardian Brokerage just went bankrupt. I don't think I've ever heard of them. But, and I know that'll annoy people but it's a simple law of demand. He who is desperate sets the rates. If the brokers are desperate, they're going to pay you, they're going to pay you a lot of money to do what you need to do. If you have 80 trucks fighting for one load, you ain't going to get squat. So at that point, it's who's more profitable. And so everybody's set on rate per mile, but what's your profitability? Spectre's talked about that. What's your profitability? And right now my rate per all miles is really, really good because of the short stuff that I do. And I'm starting to put some dents in some things, and eventually this will go away, and then I'll readjust. During COVID world, when everybody's freaking out about $1 a mile freight, I ran the short game and minimized my damage. Rates aren't $4. I'm hearing some people getting $4 a mile, RD. But they are better than they usually, which is why if you're trying to get a load to California to take advantage of that, you aren't getting a good rate. You're desperate to get out of the trucking industry? Dispatcher, you should become a dispatcher. You should, if you can't beat them, join them. There you go. Anyways, I think we're almost to an hour. We got 3 more minutes, and we're going to call it a wrap. So to recap, don't lose your roots. Don't lose the reasons why. If you start a business, don't lose the reasons why you started that business. Treat your employees with kindness, and especially the good ones. Don't reward the bad ones. Turnover is a killer in any business. Right now, there's a lot of for hire signs, and the stimulus money is literally, it was meant to save small businesses, but it's actually killing them. I know several places in town that have gone under because they just simply can't find people to work for them. Thomas Wilson, thank you for that lovely picture that you just put in everybody's heads if people have seen you. I'm hoping that you'll at least wear the cowboy hat. At least wear the cowboy hat on the nude beach. For the love of God, wear the cowboy hat. Ryan, why don't you come to Tulsa and bring me some of that 9? Anyways, guys, if we're done here, we're done. Order Out of Chaos. There was a great death metal band that we played with called Order of Chaos. They were really good. But all right, guys. Be safe. If you're running down I-44, just know that you are going to get a free truck wash. And no, we're not James Best. Maybe you convince James Best to go live. Be safe. People have lost their collective mind. There's some more protests going on. I've had my scanner radio light up a little bit. Just be careful. I know you're not, RD. I know. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and peace.